All right, we're showing the introduction here. I always like to start off with everybody seeing the intro. We're going to start, and now we'll go to the intro commercial. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Really appreciate it. We have been meaning to have a public meeting in a very long time. I know that it's been a long delay. I've been arguing for public meetings for a while. We finally got one. We're going to have a series of public meetings every single week going on. Now, the first big announcement is that the initiative is released. Let me write that in. So the initiative has been released. We refiled the Cal Exit initiative, and it was accepted by the Secretary of State. It was approved this week as of, I think, 1 or 2 days ago. We are preparing the text to share with everybody. We're not 100% sure if this text will match the original one, and therefore the signatures from before will count now, but we're looking into it. And we do have permission to get the signatures. So we are able to keep going with the signature drive for the next 5.5 months. That's the big news. The other big news, though, is that we just created a political action committee. Let me write that in. For Cal Exit. And so I have on the phone with me JJ. Now we're having some technical issues. He's in Oklahoma. There's some internet down. So please bear with us. But you're going to get all the quality information. So JJ, while I prepare some slides to show, what is a political first, could you give us the 30-second bio of who you are so that when you answer this question, people know to pay attention? What is your background in politics? And then what is the Political Action Committee?
Well, Marcus, as you know, I've been a general political campaign consultant for just over 40 years, mostly in Washington, D.C. I've been a campaign manager of 70 campaigns, ranging in order from county sheriff up to the Congress of the United States. I worked on 3 presidential campaigns, and I've been an executive speechwriter to 5 cabinet-level appointees, as well as numerous political candidates at the state and federal level. Currently, I'm teaching political science at the University of Oklahoma, and I'm in the last year of my contract here, and have been a strong supporter of Cal Exit for quite some time, and I've advocated aggressively for separation of California from the United States for about the last 10 years.
And there's his information right there. JJ Ames, executive speechwriter with presidential campaign cabinet level, also teaches graduate school of political management, where he received his degree. He was a former FEMA head speechwriter. He spent 4 decades in D.C. and has seen many campaigns. He's a political expert. He's recently joined Cal Exit a month ago. We're working on a new person, and yet another professor. And what he's talking about is this. We want to have a blue ribbon panel committee investigation, but the way that we think we can get there is with what's known as a political action committee. Let me turn off this banner at the bottom. So we ultimately need 25 states in America to vote for California to leave. Using Texas versus White, the Supreme Court case on that, we think that's possible. Now, before we can do that, though, we have to have California vote for independence. And before we can do that, we need Californians to have an investigation into independence. So you can have a legislature issue a resolution, or legislature call for the blue ribbon panel itself, or we can have 600,000 people sign the petition. And as we say to people, is it easier to get 2 people in Sacramento to sign on a resolution, or 2 people to call for the blue ribbon panel, or 600,000 people to call for the blue ribbon panel? Now, the PAC is the way that we're going to fund all of this, or at least a lot of it. Tell me a little bit about what is a PAC. By the way, here's how you can donate. You can go to Cal Exit PAC, just type in Cal Exit PAC, online, and it'll take you to this page. Donate today. Empower the fight for California independence. We're Californians who believe we are witnessing the end of the American experiment in real time. And you can donate that to this PAC. The PAC is working to convince the California government through lobbying and direct action with activists like you to convene a blue ribbon panel official California government investigation exploring separation from the United States. JJ, why is a PAC so important today? Why can't we just, do the traditional grassroots organizing? Why do we need to have a political action committee? And why is it so key to have that in order to be taken seriously by the government and actually be able to interface with them? What sort of legitimacy does this give us, or respectability? What is it? I mean, the way I look at that is the PAC is the secret weapon. It's the thing that's going to actually put us there. Yes, you need to have a vote. Yes, you need to approach Congress. Yes, you need to have the blue ribbon committee. But the way it's been explained to me is this PAC is the super weapon that's really going to supercharge us and put us in a place we haven't been able to get to before. What is it about the PAC that gives us new capabilities or allows us to stand tall like giants that we didn't have before the PAC?
Well, first and foremost, Marcus, campaigns never have enough of two things: time and money. In a statewide campaign, if you're running a statewide campaign in Wyoming as opposed to a statewide campaign in California, tremendous difference in terms of the amount of dollars that are required to effectively manage that campaign. And also, from a practical standpoint, when you're looking at larger donors who can come in and conceivably fund an entire campaign or a substantial portion of a campaign, if you don't appear to them as any other legitimate campaign would appear to them, you're not going to get a check written for you. And in this particular case, no significant political contributor would simply hand a check over. For record keeping and every other purpose, everything needs to run through a separate entity, through the PAC itself. Excuse me. A little bit under the weather here as well.
Thank you for being with us. I know that you're suffering from multiple ailments. I really appreciate it. And the people of California appreciate it. We just got to get this information out.
Not a problem. So the PAC is essential because, if you're buying a home, you don't buy a home out of the trunk of somebody's car in the parking lot. You might buy a trinket that way, but you're not going to buy anything that's a substantial investment. And investing in as a contributor and investing in a $330 million political campaign, you need to look like you belong there, and that's what the PAC does for us. It gives us a legitimate vehicle to present ourselves to high caliber contributors as legitimate and credible.
So if you go to CalExit PAC. That's CalExit PAC. It'll pop right up in Google. This is the page you're going to see. You can donate now to the PAC. You can help us champion the PAC. What some of the things that the PAC is going to do is raising public awareness about CalExit's mission and the importance of electing candidates who champion the cause, providing training and resources for candidates and other advocacy campaigns, identifying, educating, and recruiting candidates who support California independence, and mobilizing volunteer and GOTV support for endorsed candidates. We need your help. We need you to help call elected officials in Sacramento and demand an official investigation blue ribbon panel into separation. We also need you to donate to the PAC. And then we need you to tell everybody in California that we need to call for this blue ribbon panel investigation. So we're both filing the initiative to make this happen. We are directly calling legislators. We're directly lobbying with politicians in order to make this happen. And we are creating the Political Action Committee, to help raise funds and be taken seriously by the political establishment. Something it took me a while to learn was that, until you have a PAC, you're not exactly taken seriously as a real political operator. So that's the big reason why we had this. Let me show everybody this slide here. What they're looking at, JJ, is political action committees going back to the 1990s. there wasn't that many. Somewhere around 2004, they seem to have exploded. There's another chart saying that PACs exploded around 2011. Is this true? Was there a period where we had PACs, but people didn't really use them? And somewhere around 2004, 2011, the importance of PACs exploded, and it became where you can't play in this sandbox if you don't have this kind of tool.
Well, the case of Citizens United versus the FEC came in 2010, and the first election cycle that the decision was made relevant was 2012. So between 2010, the decision in 2010, and the 2012 election cycle, there were, the explosion in the existence of political action committees was psychotic, and primarily because of the entrance of super PACs onto the scene. Now, in this particular case, 20 years ago, you would have a union would have a political action committee, or a corporation would have its own political action committee. Now you have hundreds, thousands of independent political action committees that support either an individual candidate or cause, or a collection of candidates and causes who have the same ideology. So, yeah, 2012 was the first cycle where we went from modest understanding of political action committees to everybody and anybody who was involved in the political process would have a PAC or a super PAC. And again, with the advent of super PACs, the spending, the total spending, for example, in congressional races in 2010, if you want to call it X, the total amount of money spent through political action committees in 2012, the first cycle after Citizens United, that would have been 20X, and we're now probably up to 200X at this point.
So that's the point, is that, we can debate upon this, but at some point in the past, having a PAC became key to participating in politics. Now, maybe it wasn't always there, but somewhere between 2010, 2011, as shown in this graph and also in this other graph, but the one on the right really shows that there was an explosion. So basically the way the modern political reality is you have to do this. Now, there are, I'm showing some maps, PAC contributions, limits for legislative candidates in California seems to be about $1,000 to $3,000. California also seems to allow corporate campaign contributions, and it also seems to allow LLC contributions to a PAC. I'm showing 3 different maps of America, and it's showing what's allowed in California. So we seem to be in a good position because we can have individuals, LLCs, and corporations all donate to the PAC. Is that accurate?
That's right.
Now, here's another thing. I want to ask you this question. What type of PAC are we looking at? I'm showing everybody right now a slide. Let me read it to you. In the United States, a political action committee is a tax-exempt 527 organization that pools campaign contributions from members and donates to those campaigns for or against candidates, ballot initiatives, or legislation, like the Blue Ribbon Panel. The legal term PAC was created in pursuit of the campaign finance reform in the United States. Connected PACs. Most of the 46,000 active registered PACs named connected PACs, sometimes also called a corporate PAC, are established by business, nonprofits, labor unions, trade unions, or health organizations. These PACs receive money from a restricted class, generally consisting of managers or shareholders. There's another one called the non-connected PAC. Groups with an ideological mission, single-use groups, and members of Congress and other political leaders may form a non-connected PACs. These organizations may accept funds from any individual, any connected PAC, or any organization. My understanding is we're a non-connected PAC because we're not limited to the money that we can take, and we're more focused on an ideological mission.
That is also correct.
Okay. I'll get you that money right after the show. Anyways, you can donate now to the CalExit PAC. Here it is. And again, this is the goal. We want to have a Blue Ribbon Panel committee. We think you can have 2 legislators or 2 people sign a resolution, or we could have 600,000 people sign the petition. So we're pursuing different matters. Like I said, the initiative has been released. We're prepping that, and we're going to be doing that. In addition, we're trying to lobby so that we can get it happening, because it only takes 2 legislators to pass a resolution or call for the blue ribbon panel directly. And that will set us off. That'll put us to the next level. And the PAC is trying to help us get there. Once we have the blue ribbon panel committee, then obviously we would have the vote for independence. And this is the great thing. We would then go to Congress and ask for permission to leave. We only need 25 states to allow us to leave. 31 states voted for Donald Trump. It only takes 2 legislators to propose a resolution and about 7 legislators to propose a blue ribbon panel, or 600,000 Californians to sign the initiative. We're trying to skin that cat every way we can. So, wrapping up, is there other things we need to say about a PAC that are really important, JJ? Have we missed any key information on a PAC? All right, 1 second here. Technical issues. JJ, are you there?
I am indeed.
Oh, sorry.
Again, we're having all kinds of crazy phone problems here
Sorry,
today
sorry.
in Oklahoma.
It's the deep state.
And all I would add is that our ability to effectively advance all 3 prongs of the strategy will be tied to the ability of the PAC to raise funds. That's all.
With you still on the phone, I'm going to cover a little bit of what a blue ribbon panel is. So again, we want to call the blue ribbon panel. Now, you need to have a vote for independence, true. But we found that if we approach legislators and if we approach regular citizens and we say, hey, let's have a full-blown vote for independence, a lot of people are like, wow, that's extreme. If we say, hey, do you see the chaos on TV? You're telling me you feel America is a totally stable place and it's going to be fine going into the future, and therefore it's unreasonable for us to have an investigation on what if we need to survive on our own? Most people pause. People who would pause at the idea of voting for California independence right now, most people don't pause when you say, hey, can't we just have an investigation on if it goes bad? And that's where the blue ribbon panel comes in, and that's this plan here. So real quick, what is a blue ribbon panel? It's a commission that refers to a group of experts convened to study a specific issue or provide recommendations. Blue ribbon panels are formed to address complex issues, develop policy options, make recommendations. The panels typically exist of panels of experts in their field, academics, policymakers. They're established through legislation, which outlines their purpose, composition, and responsibilities. California's had numerous blue ribbon panels on various topics, including legalization of drugs, children, the California bar exam, lithium extraction, foster care. Blue ribbon panels are a mechanism for California to leverage expertise and comprehensive analysis. Let's go to this one. To legislators in California, and this is what I helped develop with JJ. I'm reading them now, the script that we have for legislators, JJ. Proposing a blue ribbon panel does not mean you are endorsing secession or supporting it, which we now call separation. This is what we would say to legislators. It only means that you're saying it's worthwhile to know the facts about this idea before pursuing it further. This is an inherently reasonable stance given the actions taken by Donald Trump. When the Atlantic magazine says it is a reasonable idea worth exploring, given the circumstances California's faced recently, there's no more room for debate. While not causing independence, a formal government investigation into the topic of independence was key to encouraging the people of Scotland to pursue their first vote for devolution. JJ, walk us through. Now, I know this is a prediction of the future. It's not right now. But if we're looking at the future, what happens the day the California government announces that they're doing a BRP investigation into independence from America? What politically happens in America, in California, on the news? Because you and I have talked a lot about this. Paint this picture for people. California has not voted for independence. It doesn't even have the vote for independence. But the government, 2 legislators for a resolution, 7 legislators out of, I think, about 120 for the blue ribbon panel. What happens the day California's government announces that they're forming this blue ribbon panel.
Well, it's the shot heard around the world, and it can't be characterized in any lesser significant manner than that. It is the notice to the universe, notice to NATO, notice to the World Trade Organization, notice to the World Health Organization, notice to the Paris Climate Accords, that California is exploring ways in which it can gain its sovereignty and become an independent player on the world stage. It's international news before the ink is dry on the final resolution.
So just want to say real quick, thank you to Laura and to Rick for coming out and asking questions. Laura, I got your question. I will answer that. Rick, gracias. The blue ribbon panel is exactly what JJ said. So picture this headline. California, world's fourth largest economy, is officially the official government is officially investigating independence. I'm going to show a made-up mocked headline that I've made. One is of Lester Holt. The other one is of Nora O'Donnell. And I made fake screenshots of California lowering the American flag. And then it says breaking news, California government okays blue ribbon panel on leaving. This would be a shockwave, right? Like just the California government officially declaring we're going to have an investigation on if we leave. The news just announcing that would be a shockwave, right? This would be a cataclysmic moment. Maybe that's not the right word. It'd be a moment where you don't come emotionally back from this, right? Like it'd be like Californians go, do you remember the day they announced the blue ribbon panel? Like, I think this would be a historic moment and nothing would be the same after that. How do you feel about that?
It's the lead news story in every form of every media, on every platform, channel, station, newspaper, magazine. It's just that simple. You can't begin to underestimate the value and significance of that day.
Now, why do I think so? Well, here's a screenshot and I'm showing them. And thanks for playing along, JJ. We wouldn't be here without you.
Sure.
By the way, JJ in many ways is my boss. Now, technically my boss is Dr. Xavier, but on many ways I follow directions from JJ. JJ got here 3 months ago. He got here 3 months ago and he was ready to roll up his sleeves and get to it. And he said, I know what to do. And after a month of listening to him, we're like, you should take more leadership. And then after 2 months, we're like, you should lead. And we've gotten really far. So like I've told all you, no one owns the movement. If you come in and you want to make stuff happen, we're about getting it done. This is not ego. This is not ownership. So here's a picture of the Coleman Commission. Now, Kenneth Coleman was ordered by the Scottish government to do an investigation into Scotland leaving England. Scotland had been part of England for hundreds of years. Then one day around 2009, they said, maybe we should be independent. They didn't just vote for it. They had their government do an official investigation. I'm showing them pictures of the Holyrood government. In the center, you can see a picture of the inside of the government chambers where they're talking. Below that is a panel of about 12 people in the center of the screen. That's the panel. It doesn't have to be 100 people. Those people were pretty good experts. And then on the far right, you can see Kenneth Coleman talking with some of the other panelists. And there's the publication they released, the final document, Serving Scotland Better. Now, historians say that the moment that publication came out, actually the moment the Scottish government announced that they were going to do this investigation, you could date Scottish independence from there, because it was only a few years later that they had it. Now, it didn't just happen. There was a lot of debate, but the moment the Scottish government said, we're officially looking into leaving England, that the Scots never came back from that. Here is the report, The Future of Scottish Devolution Within the Union, a first report. Let me pull off the banner. You can see there's Kenneth Coleman's signature. And basically it says they're going to look at principles. They're going to, what are the underlying principles by which the commission would look at its conclusions? It's supposed to look at the functions of the Scottish government and how it's reserved responsibilities from the UK government. It was supposed to engage how the commission can communicate widely and effectively about the evidence that it's created. It was supposed to consider financial accountability, funding arrangements between Scotland and the UK and how those would be changed. And it was supposed to also look and consider intergovernmental relations, how government to government relations and legal issues would change. So they write in the blue ribbon panel what this study is going to look at. Additionally, here's just a few of the council members. Right Honorable Lord Board of something, former Lord Advocate, that means senator. Don't worry, we'll get JJ back. Then there's Professor Kenneth Coleman from the University of Glasgow. Then there's the executive director of the Housing Cooperative, a retired judge from the European Court. There's also a leader of the Aberdeen Council, another political party, a former Scottish office minister, that's a government minister, a youth activist, and then a Telegraph Media CEO. So what you can see from the panel is that they specifically list who's going to be on the panel and what expertise they have. So when you look at this picture and you see the panelists in the middle, those aren't just random people. That's like multiple political parties, multiple academics, multiple economists, a guy who runs media, a guy who worked in the Senate, a guy who works in the House, all coming together to make that happen. And this is what it was called, the Scottish Commission on Devolution. And this is their blue ribbon panel moment. That's why we're so big on this, the blue ribbon panel, because we think that when you have this in California, it'll be the equivalent of the Scottish Commission on Devolution, and it will cause this. And the moment they had that, you could date Scottish independence from that moment going forward. Give me a second. Let me see if we can get JJ back. Give me 1 second. JJ?
You have reached the office.
Okay. Technical difficulties. Okay, well, we'll wrap this up. So anyways, this is the thing you would say to legislators. You don't have to push for full independence. This is something we can ask you to do. So you would call legislators and you would ask for them to engage or enact a blue ribbon panel investigation into CalExit. We also have the initiative. We're also going to be lobbying, but we'd also ask people to do this too. And just to back it up, here is an example of a blue ribbon panel vote in California. Really all it's showing you is two different options. One was for the California banking and another was for energy supply chains. It really takes about 2 people to propose it and about 5 to 7 to approve of it. That's all this is showing you, is that it takes about 2 to propose it, 5 to approve it. Here's an example of a blue ribbon panel write-up. This was for Clear Lake. It basically just says they want to create an investigation into Clear Lake to do, make the lake healthier and cleaner. Here's another example on lithium extraction. So it doesn't have to be that complex to call for a blue ribbon panel. You have, they do it all the time. It's routinely called for. We had that here. Blue ribbon panels are called all the time. Here's an example. Here's an example. They don't take many votes. Here's another example of a blue ribbon panel being called for a, I think it was a credit card for poor people. Anyways, we want to recreate this so that we can have this effect here in California. Give me 1 second. I'm going to see if JJ comes on. If he doesn't, we'll end the show.
You have reached the office of J.J. Ames. Please leave it.
Okay, we'll wrap this up. I understand that having the panel investigate is a good idea, but is it an actual hard legal requirement before proceeding with the initiative? That's a question from Rick. So, no, the panel is not a hard legal requirement before leaving. So let me see here. BRP is not legally necessary to leave. You do not have to have a blue ribbon panel to secede. You don't have to do it. You have to have a vote. Now, here's the thing. When we look at Scotland, the way that their argument was so strong was that they did have the blue ribbon panel and then they had a vote. Because they did it in that manner, they were able to say that this isn't a mob rule. We didn't just put up a vote and everybody rushed to vote and then that was it. They were able to say our government looked into it. It studied the facts. It released those facts to the public. The public had a year to review that, and then they voted. When you do it that way, you get international recognition because nobody's able to say that this was mob rule or just something that you thought was cool for the moment or you're just upset. The government looked into it, prepared findings. The electorate reviewed it. It's called having an educated voting group. So no, it's not legally required, but we do think that it would basically cause Calix to happen on its own. So when this headline goes out, that's not a vote for independence at all. It's not even saying there's going to be a vote for independence. It's just saying California is investigating it. We think the moment this headline comes out, California can never walk back and they'll be on the track to full-blown independence. Why? Because that's exactly what happened in Scotland. The moment they announced this investigation, the moment it came out, historians have said you could date Scottish independence to that moment. It was about 5 years later. Scotland had been talking about being independent from England for about 100 years. It had been part of the UK for 500 years. But within 5 years of announcing this panel, they were fully independent. We think the similar thing would happen here in California. No, it is not the same thing to leave. And here's the great thing. The initiative calls for both the vote and the panel. So the initiative places the legally required vote and it calls for the blue ribbon panel. We're just telling people on the side to call their legislators and to donate to the PAC so that we can effectively lobby legislators to call for the blue ribbon panel. We don't have, there's many ways to do this. We could have the legislature pass a resolution. We could have 2 different legislators call for the panel, or we could file and collect 600,000 signatures. The initiative will call for both a vote and the panel. Vote and the panel, both. That's what's good about it. But we've just come to realize that while we're pursuing full-blown independence and will not stop short of anything, especially if you watch what's going on in America, we've noticed that when you ask politicians to back for a vote for independence, you got to sell it, and it can be done. But then when you tell politicians, hey, I just want to have a study on if things go bad and if we have to do something, that we have the options to pursue immediately if we need them. And when you present it that way, it's a much easier sell. Many politicians would balk at the idea of, although this could easily change very quickly, like JJ said, of voting for independence and having to say that. But most of them would be able to go out in public and say, I didn't say I was for independence. I just said, when you look at Trump saying, let's turn American cities into training grounds and launching artillery shells over a freeway and sending active duty Marines in and violating the orders of the National Guard from the governor and threatening to arrest the governor and then sending ICE troops outside of a governor's meeting just to intimidate him. And then some of the crazy stuff you've seen in Portland where people getting shot in the face intentionally on video. It's clear that things may not work out in the future, right? That's not a crazy idea. Especially when you consider this. Here's the Atlantic magazine. This is the top policy magazine in America. When Californians get hostile deployments of federal troops, they might find it harder to see what's in it for them. That's the Atlantic magazine saying it's not unreasonable anymore for Californians to go, why are we in this union and what do we get out of it? So the investigation would look into that and it would create findings from that. And again, we would think this would be based upon this, and we would be able to leave. And that comes down to this action, which allows us to ultimately do this. And that's why the PAC is so important. So we'll leave it there. I'm going to do another show real quick with JG on how America's falling apart. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. We'll be back with another show very soon. The initiative is released. Please join the PAC. We're going to be organizing outreach for the initiative, and we are going to be lobbying for the Blue Ribbon Panel. I want to say thank you to everybody, and thank you, Laura. We'll end the stream there, and I'll be back with another show very soon.